Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Stormwatch by GreyNoise Intelligence for the year 2024. Each
Woo!
week, we drop the latest info on what's happening at GreyNoise, take a look at a roundup of important and timely cybersecurity topics, and toss out some expert opinions, plus the occasional conspiracy theory. I am Bob Rudis, and with me are my co-hosts, Emily. Good morning and Happy New Year, Emily.
Hey, good morning. Happy New Year to you too, to all of you. Hopefully it's
I
off to a good start.
Well, sort of. Like I was going to ask you how a certain package was that last night, but apparently the package never made it to where you are right now.
It turns out that if you don't tell people you've moved, people don't know you've moved. So packages
That
go
is a
to the wrong
problem.
places. So that's
That
on
that is a
me.
problem. So we will have to find out from everybody else how the pack what was in the package and how it actually was. But beyond that, so beyond the fact that you missed out at least temporarily, and hopefully who was ever in that house now did not actually abscond with said
Oh, it's
package.
gone.
There's
I'm
How,
no one in the
sorry.
house right now. So that's good.
oh well, that's good
There's a
then. Okay.
chance.
So beyond that, how is 2024 going for you so far?
Yeah, honestly, not too bad. I have a couple of like running events on my calendar for the rest of the year that I'm really excited about. Which I don't usually do this early, but I was like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah,
Like what kind?
lots
Like,
of
wait, like what kind of running events?
I don't want to say too much, but just like running for a very long time.
Oh boy.
How many times are we going to be doing this to yourself?
A couple
Like
times
just two?
so far. Yeah,
Oh boy.
So
Wow. Okay.
far.
yeah. So far, we'll see. I'll probably throw in a couple more things, but like I'm really excited about the couple things that I've committed to. So we'll see. And I'm scared to even say them out loud because that makes it really real. So yeah,
Fair enough.
I'm
Fair
excited.
enough.
I'll probably talk more about it annoyingly throughout the year.
That would be very cool. That'd be very cool. And Kimber, same to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And what did you receive a surprise present yesterday?
I did. It was
What was the
magical.
present? Well,
It was
wait, what was it then?
it was adorable, tiny, little celebratory bunt cakes for my second GreyNoise anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
I was
Two
so
years. Can you
Congratulations.
believe that? Can you believe it's been 2 years?
yeah, I cannot. It was so nice. Just to have our little celebratory little thing together. That was really sweet. I literally very sweet.
I will be asking other people the same question, but I need to give a shout out to Jordan. We started scheming this way too late last week, and Jordan pulled everything off. Perfectly, except that somebody didn't give us an updated address for them. So apart from that lack of perfection, it was awesome. Like Jordan's just amazing and knows so many secrets of how to do these things. Really appreciate you, Jordan, and I really hope you did get yourself something very special too.
Yeah.
So beyond the fact that you got treats to start off the new year, how is 2024 going, Kimber?
It's going very cold. It was a solid like
Oh
60
yeah, you're in that frozen tundra area of the US right now, aren't you? Yeah.
frozen tundra territory, and I gotta say it's very special. I feel like I really truly understand winter depression now.
Oh,
Um,
oh
that being
no.
said, though, really enjoying 2024 so far. Doing a lot of scheming, a lot of
Oh,
scheming.
Personal or professional? Or business or pleasure? I should say.
A little of both,
Okay.
which is great. But also I think that one of the interesting things that I'm looking forward to this year is I sent out a little community survey to the hackerspace constituents here in Salt Lake City yesterday, and on that survey was asking people why they came. And just as kind of like a joke, but not a joke, I put one of the responses as "I'm lonely," and about 60% of people have used the "because I'm lonely" response. And
Okay.
I'm just like, okay,
wow.
for 2024, bring people back together. We're doing it.
You
Nice.
called it in the
Yeah,
predictions. You were like,
yeah,
that's
I know.
happening. Now you're
I was gonna say the
manifesting it. You're
same
making it
thing.
happen.
That is amazing. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
manifesting. So, yeah, reach out to a homie today.
Yeah, say hello, tap in.
Yeah.
And Glenn, with some apologies, I'm being forced to do this. Name a woman.
Name a woman?
Yeah, name a woman. Now, come on. Boom, boom. Let's go.
Taylor Swift.
Uh,
What was that?
I did not expect this to be where this went so early.
What is this?
would someone like to explain it to Glenn?
Did I miss the latest thing?
It's a TikTok trend.
Of
I don't know.
course.
I'm a boomer at heart, so I really
I mean, I could
should
talk
know how
about
to explain.
the Roman Empire more, but what are we doing?
Glenn, how often do you think about the Roman Empire?
It was
Oh my
pretty.
gosh.
It was probably like weekly. It was it was funny. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so with the apologies are my daughter coerced
Oh
me
my
into
gosh.
doing that to you, so I had to do that to you just to let you know.
What's supposed to
I
what's
love
the is that one? Is that everyone's answer or something? I don't know. Like,
No.
what's-
No, it's just that it's like how you answer that the first like there's that the actual Roman Empire. Yeah, he said Taylor Swift. Yeah,
It's Taylor Swift,
yeah,
which honestly is a
yeah. Come on
wonderful.
in.
Well, after the Golden Globes gossip, which I know we're really off brand, and our CEO is just standing by watching us in the dark.
Sorry.
That, we're gonna turn this into Taylor Swift talk, but there's some
You're
drama.
supposed to answer with like your wife or something.
Oh,
Or, like,
I gave a random actual female like first name. That's all I gave.
my second thought was RBG. I don't know if that like.
Oh, that's
makes
cool.
better.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, the famous powerful woman like
Yeah.
route is good too.
That's so funny that so everyone that was watching just saw my 2-year-old grandson number 2.1 make an appearance because they were downstairs watching me make fun of Glenn, and he had to come up and just see how what Glenn looked like in person if he was still there. So
He's my
yeah,
buddy.
yeah, he is actually. Yeah, he's on Glenn's side. It's not great, people. You don't know what it's like now. My life is terrible. So Glenn, did you also receive the package as well?
I did. It was funny because we talked about a little bit pre-show. When you surprise an InfoSec person, sometimes it doesn't go as well. So there was a knock on the door that wasn't expected, and no one knocked on the door. And so it's kind of like looking out, determining, do I answer it? Do I not? Do I ignore them? But then I saw the big red DoorDash bag, and I'm like, well, if I am
I'll
about to
take
get
free
like
stuff.
hit with
I'll take free stuff. I'm Glenn. I'll take free
Yeah.
stuff all the time.
if I am about to get jacked with a sock full of pennies, at least like this person put in some effort to make it look like DoorDash. And so
What year is this? Wait, Glenn, what year is this? What year?
it's a Seinfeld reference. There's a few people that probably appreciated that.
Okay, all right.
But I was prepared to say like, hey, wrong house. Like someone's really going to enjoy those crumble cookies. And then it had my name on it. And I was like, oh, surprise. Okay. And then I had to go through the effort of, or the thought of like, okay, who would have sent this? Is it legit? Is it laced? So I text Bob.
Yep.
And he was like, yeah, I'm like, okay. And then they were, of course, delicious because crumble is woof, so good.
Crumble cookies are so good.
Like,
Yeah,
Now I'm
those
so
are
sad
some-
I didn't leave.
they're
the
like
right
pies. They're like
address.
cookie pies, basically.
we'll
So,
just get the
that
new
is
address
very kind.
and we'll make it up. And we'll make it up, Emily. That's cool. How is your I know you're having a bit of some physical challenges this year so far, but apart from them, I'm going to exclude them from your answer. How is 2024 going so far?
So far so good, honestly. We had a nice break. And it was kind of long enough. Like I find for me the 10-day mark is the nice where you've been off long enough that you're ready to go back. Like you've kind of decompressed, relaxed, and ready to go back. So this kind of fit into that realm. So I was ready to come back. Had a lot of ideas over the break. Also had a lot of things I was going to do for work that I didn't do over the break.
Good.
Like
Good.
books to read and stuff. But
It
no,
was
good.
nice. It was nice of you to show up a day late to work, though. Appreciate that.
Oh man, that's funny. Well, listen. There's different ways to interpret a calendar. We had some miscommunication internally, so I did have
Okay.
a little bit of an extra day off.
You're going with it on blame other people. Appreciate that. That's great. Great way to start the new year.
I just
That's
look at
great.
different ways to interpret the calendar.
I also took the extra day. It was great.
Well, so many did. I think they finally said, everyone, our bad.
I don't know. So we normally just have this crew on, everyone that is listening / watching, but we have a very special guest with us today, the CEO and founder of GreyNoise, Andrew Morris. Andrew, welcome to the show. I cannot actually believe this is your first and only appearance so far.
Yay.
Hi, folks. I am very, very glad to be here on Stormwatch. long-time listener, first-time caller, as they say.
This
He's
is
been
great.
trying to figure out what we've been doing for the last 10
Yeah,
minutes.
exactly. Why am I paying these people again? Okay, I don't know.
No, it's actually nothing's changed. It's like what I'm used to. The only difference is that like I'm on it now.
We are going to get into a deep dive, riveting interview with Sir Morris in just a bit. But as I am compelled to because it is a proper thing to do, the only reason this runs at all and runs amazingly well is because of our amazing Overwatch, Ashley. Good morning, Ashley. And I'm assuming that the cookies made it to you as well. And you can type if you don't want to talk.
Goals for this year: get Ashley the Overwatch to talk on stream.
Yes.
And how is 2024? And how is 2024 going for you, Ashley? Is it going okay, bad? Give her a chance. Good. All right. So Ashley's doing great. So this is great. So we're off to a good start here. Everyone's got a good. This should be a pretty good show. For the folks that are joining live, please heckle. I mean, my boss is on. That's literally like part of my contract that I have to like heckle him and belittle him every day. So please help me with that. Yeah, I do a fairly good job at that, I think.
Sure.
And if you don't want to heckle, we're going to talk about some serious things too. So provide your insights. The last show was awesome. You all had great questions and really great insights. So please jump in if you're there. I also just want to give a special welcome to our podcast listeners, but we'll do that in a minute because I want to first check on today's actual weather and not just cyber weather. So you all had a great start to the year. The world has not. I'm not sure if anyone's noticed this, but we've had like a pretty horrible, terrible, massive earthquake that did a lot of damage in Japan. You just heard from Kimber. Like Kimber's right in the middle of that horrible cold spell, and actually even like the UK, which is where one of our folks isn't doing real well right now. We have an explosion in Texas yesterday that thankfully was not I don't think anyone really got seriously injured, which was amazing. And we now have what I'm now referring to. We will be referring to cyber vulnerabilities from now on as door plugs because that's exactly what kind of happens. And like we have just planes dropping things out of the air like doors and stuff like that.
Are the vulns door plugs or the like bypasses door plugs?
Or the patches door plugs.
Yeah, the patches door plugs.
I think the patches might be door plugs. That might be a better way of phrasing it. How has this like onslaught of natural and unnatural events impacted y'all as we start the new year? Because like I have been as you can tell, I've been chronicling them because I'm Mr. Doom and Gloom. How has it been sitting with you?
It is the year of the El Nino, and so for me, I just think I love like observing the Earth's sort of natural sort of weather patterns that they go through. I like taking that big step back and seeing how something so small as the Earth's rotation can affect things so incredibly drastically. It leaves me with this incredible sense of awe and of like insignificance. I'm like, wow, you think that you have so much control and that things are so predictable, but the Earth can just move ever so slightly in a certain direction and like now all of a sudden it's raining a lot constantly and there's like crazy storms going on. It's actually pouring rain in DC right now. My dog does not want to go outside. That's how it's affecting me. My dog's very grumpy. Go outside and go pee.
Same in Atlanta, actually. It's pouring and dog is like, no, I'm not here for this. So that's current state.
Yeah, and the forecast, at least, like I don't know if it's the same air that's at Kimber's or what, but like late this weekend, early next week is bitter cold, at least for Texas, when I assume everyone north of Texas, like single digits wind chill below zero here. So it's gonna be rough for the power grid. So maybe or maybe not, I'll be on next Tuesday.
Fingers crossed.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
It's so funny. All the people from my hometown in Arizona are like complaining about how it's 40 something degrees there. And now I get to be really like superior about everything. I'm like, oh yeah.
I wear shorts when it's 40.
Feeling very powerful right now in my ice cavern.
So Glenn, I mean, listen, if the power thing does happen and you might not make it to Stormwatch, we can get some pretty cheap Boeing flights if you want to go someplace where you can be.
Oh, too soon. Oh no.
Oh man.
Did you hear
That's
the part about them
terrifying.
finding the iPhone that fell out?
Yeah, it was open to a baggage claim thing. Like, it's so wild.
So crazy.
But even crazier though, I'm not sure if you watched the interview, but there was a science professor named Bob. Like originally, like the NTSB just said a teacher named Bob, which was like I get stuff about that if whenever there's that like a random Bob person on the internet. He actually has a last name, but he actually took the time to explain physics and science about how the whole thing happened to the reporter. He basically gave anyone that would be listening to the broadcast a little mini science lesson. So good on teachers for being having the presence of mind to go do that. I appreciate that.
I'm really fascinated with the Boeing thing. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm also like an aerospace geek, so it kind of it tracks. But I don't know. I think it's a great. It's not great. It's a great story that nothing bad happened. Right. That is
It's
freaking
time.
amazing.
Landing the plane just with a hole in it. That's
The worst. Well, the worst part of all of this, which I learned this morning because I'm like keeping close eye on it, is they can't recover data from the voice recorder because they didn't stop it, and it has like a 2-hour loop or 20-minute loop or something. And so since they landed the plane and parked it, like it overrode itself, and so now there's none of that telemetry.
Because you want to hear 2 hours of screaming. You just want to hear 2 hours of just abject scream.
Okay, it does more than
not for the
audio.
pilots. Actually,
I don't know.
Hopefully.
on TikTok, we're very like everybody seems so calm.
I mean, what are you gonna do, right? Like,
I mean, Kimber, we've been through and are still in a pandemic. We have a tridemic right now. There's global chaos in all sorts of aspects. I mean, like people are like, yeah, so what? Who cares? It's nothing.
All
I mean,
the
the door didn't
on
even
the plane are like, this is gonna make great content.
Like, what if the door hit you? Like, what if you were walking down the street and the door hit you? Like, that's Final Destination level.
Buy a lottery ticket.
Not if it hit you.
Vote.
Your dying breath after it just crushes you. Yeah, it's like
early vote.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Get out there and vote.
All right, so we are going to kickstart this. That was a little long. I'm sorry about that, but we had to get back into the swing of things. It's been way too long. It's been like the 19th was our last show, so we had to catch up with everybody. So we are going today. So again, we have a podcast. We are going to get domain names going better for this because we're going to have a landing page. It's epic because the design team is epic. So like this guy it's going to be so cool. And so today we have the CEO and founder of GreyNoise. His background, he has a strong background in offensive cyber operations, security research, and security engineering. And he also has a stronger background in hot takes due to his Twitter/X addiction. Andrew, I have my first question to you is, dude, what the heck happened to you? Look at that man.
Look at this. This is sweet summer child. The years have been rough on me, Bob.
Dude, this is a beautiful human being, and look at what it has turned into. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm gonna move it from the stage so we can see you now. Yeah, capitalism happened. So like this is the Boeing door version of you, is what you're saying.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Oh yeah, no, the years have been brutal. God, I was just a sweet summer child. That was taken 30 years ago in 1975. No, I don't know what happened.
Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, I searched for because like there are some color pictures of that one, but I gotta tell you that black and white with like the little moody thing up, it just looks great. Wow, I don't know, dude. So listen, you're on the show, and we want to, and like I know you talk a lot on other podcasts, so thank you for finally gracing our podcast with this thing. And so can you briefly describe the journey of GreyNoise? Like you created this beast, and like you've taken it all the way with the help of others to its current state from where it was. What are the key milestones? What were the challenges you had along the way? I know you've said this story a couple times before, but now you have a chance to say it on your own, company's podcast. So like, what do you want to say?
So everything really kind of started when I got fired from a job, and I had like a couple days and weeks to myself of like having nothing to do for the first time in sort of my adult life. I found an open source. I was like trawling GitHub, as one does, and I found an open source honeypot. It was called Kippo at the time. Now it's called Cowrie. and open source SSH honeypot. And I installed it on a couple of boxes, and I started looking at the logs, and it got popped immediately. Like the second I installed it, like I just was floored. I thought that it was some kind of mistake. Certainly there's no way there's that many attackers. There's like actually that many attacks happening. And it really was. And so I think everything that's happened since then, so I installed more of them to try to collect more data. And then I was like, well, what about things other than SSH and things other than, like HTTP and things like that? And I think that GreyNoise, the journey has just been it constantly wanting to outgrow its previous forms, right? Like there's always a logical sort of next step. And one of the first things I remember feeling was I installed a bunch of SSH honeypots. Now this is in like 2013 or 14. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm seeing a lot of data on bad guys that are attacking SSH. And when I look up when I look the IPs up in other places, lots of people know about these. But I remember thinking, are there more bad guys attacking SSH? That's what everyone was reporting on. Or is the tooling for detecting SSH attackers just the most mature and generally available? And it was certainly the latter, because then what I figured out is I would write my own really itty bitty low or medium interaction honeypot, and I would deploy it out to 1,000 places, or to 10 places, and I would see attacks on that as well that nobody else knew about. So once I started to chip away at like how little I knew, once I started to know how little I knew, it became this obsession, an absolute obsession of like, wait a minute. So there's attacks, there's bad guys out here attacking web servers, attacking, remote desktop servers, attacking SMB servers, things like that nobody knows about, because there is no open source tooling for this, and there is nobody really looking for this. So I would say the inception was just a pet project that I was obsessed with, and did a hacker conference talk, a ShmooCon talk in maybe 2014 about it, and had the opportunity to work on some cool United States intelligence community stuff sort of around that, because the data ended up being really useful for some spooky purposes that I would have never, ever, ever thought of myself. So I ended up having the opportunity to build another version of it with a larger budget, larger than $50 on my debit card every month, because I was unemployed. And so it just wanted to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The biggest milestones along the way would have been, the very first one of these I built was Animus. Just watching it I remember when it got its first user. Like it was the first time somebody other than me was consuming the data to do anything. And then, GreyNoise, the very first, one of the biggest milestones, funny enough, was people, Bob, it was you retweeting it out to like a gazillion people the first day that I hand wrote the documentation, and you retweeted it, long before you came to GreyNoise, and people started to use it. I started to see usage was a really big component to it. Another one was when you start to move down, when I started to move down a level from, okay, it started off, let's find attacks, let's see who's attacking things. But I remember the whole universe of things changing when I started to just look at network activity. So scans, and that's, that was one of the really big turning points for me, because I started to realize how many benign actors were out there. And that was where it was like, oh my God, I can't just call everything that touches these things bad. That would be irresponsible. That would be inaccurate. That would be incorrect. I started to see Shodan. I started to see Census. I started to see all these services I didn't even know about. Again, this was years ago. And that was a really big deal. Even just understanding, again, another iteration of learning how little I knew, and then noticing again how much the data would change every time I would add sensors. I would add new sensors to new countries or to new providers, knowing again how little I really knew. I learned throughout the process that, like, you know, if you collected from AWS, the traffic that you were going to see was going to be completely different than if you collected from, let's just say, Oracle Cloud, because the AWS security team might block things upstream that the Oracle security team doesn't. And if you run a honeypot in your home network, the things that you're going to see are going to be different than if you run a honeypot in, again, like a Google Cloud or something like that, because attackers target things differently. If you are running something that appears to be a router, the attack traffic that you're going to see is going to be completely different than the attack traffic that as if you're running a JBoss server. And so these were some of the, learning these big boulders of the unknown were some of the huge, were some of the biggest sort of milestones. And then the current milestone that I see us at is kind of that maturity to where we understand the problem well enough that other people are going to be able to participate with us. And I think that's the biggest milestone. Now, people, in addition to just us, are going to be able to do things. It's going to become a bit more of a multiplayer game. And moving from a human writing the analysis to a human guiding and teaching the machine that does the analysis, those are the biggest sort of milestones that I see us right now. Challenges, God, I could talk about that for a gazillion years. But those are, I mean, you know, the one challenge, the biggest, there are two challenges that are bigger than absolutely any. And the first is money. Like literally, like figuring out how to make this thing pay for itself and how to describe the value. And the second is the description of the value. Why does anyone need to care about this, right? It's classic blue ocean. How do you explain to somebody that they have a problem, that you have a solution to a problem that they didn't know that they had, or that they didn't know there was a solution to, without seeming like you're scheming and without seeming like you're just chasing a buck or that you're taking advantage of them, and that you're coming to them with an open heart. So paying for a system that's huge, that has massive sunk costs just in order to get it running, that's a big part of the challenge. And then the other part of the challenge is articulating it to people without sounding like a crazy person. And I'm guilty of sounding like a crazy person a lot of the time when I talk about GreyNoise, because I might be a crazy person. So it's, you know.
Well, like, yeah, so to dig into that a little bit, because the way that you've described it so far, it almost sounds like it's been a science experiment for a very long period of time, and I'm not sure that conveys exactly what's in like the mind of Morris in terms of really what the ultimate end goal is. Because I remember a discussion with you like right around the time, is like, you know, hey, like GreyNoise is cool, like I should join GreyNoise. You had this thing like where you really like deep down in like your soul want to literally put an end to internet mass exploitation. Like you want to eradicate it. And like you've talked a lot about like, you know, measurement up until this point and helping people and corporations become, you know, players in this multiplayer game that we have now. We can talk about that more in a bit. But like, how does the GreyNoise platform, how does what you began with GreyNoise and what you're envisioning for GreyNoise fit into that whole vision of like fighting against and eventually eradicating mass exploitation? And how far along on that progress scale do you think we are right now?
So I love history. I think history is really useful whenever you're trying to understand a concept that's bigger than you or older than you. And I love human nature and I love psychology. And so I'm interested in the sort of high-level concept of defense innovation systems would be the term. The evolution of combat, the evolution of warfare over time. And so a silly example of that would be what changed before and after the invention of gunpowder, and how did that actually change the course of human history. And so before gunpowder was feudalism, and at a high level, I mean, the important thing here is that the power was dictated and social order was dictated by who had the most knights, right? And knights had to be fed better, they had to be trained better, they had to be armed better, they had their whole social structure, and a lot was built around a knight, because one knight could take out like, you know, 15 armed peasants, right? And so, or 20 armed peasants. And so what mattered was who had the most knights. And then the invention and the weaponization of gunpowder changed things drastically, because then all of a sudden it didn't matter how many knights you had. Any old person with a gun could shoot another person with a gun. And that's sort of what paved the way for democracy. Raw numbers is what mattered more. Just raw numbers, right? A person with a gun just was a person with a gun. That was it, right? So you fast forward again, things changed, call it 1,000 years later, when you're starting to look at the concept of, in this case, I've talked about the metaphor of World War II and the Germans and the Brits and them dropping bombs. And so essentially the way that warfare changed again is that the Germans would drop, there was this problem. The Germans were doing bombing runs in World War II over the UK, over Britain. And there was very little that they could do about it, right? So the only defense to this, the Germans would run bombers over, and by the time people saw them, the bombs were dropping, they would scramble the jets in order to fight them off, but the damage was already done. And the Brits didn't exactly know what to do about it. The only defense that they really knew was to 24/7 run jets around the entirety of the island, and try to intercept any bombers that would come. But that was really expensive. That was cost prohibitive. That's a lot of fuel, right? And a lot of man hours. I don't know if this sounds familiar to anybody, but it does remind me of the way that we think about security operations centers right now, right? And then this brilliant woman invented the radar. She noticed that if you bounce little sound waves off of the air, and if something came back, that meant that there was something in the air. And if there was something in the air, it was probably a bomber. So if you saw the bombers from really far away, you could scramble the jets in time to intercept and shoot them down by the time they got to you. This rendered the concept of the bombing run. It leveled the playing field again to sort of up-level defense in defense innovation systems. So again, I know this is a long-winded metaphor, but Bob, in my heart, 6, 7, 8 years ago, what I knew at the time was, look, if you can see these little whispers of these cyber attacks, the concept is every packet has a story. Every single one. There is no such thing as a packet that traverses the internet without an explanation. They all have an explanation. And one of the things that I sort of felt in my heart of hearts is that if you can see these things, you might be able to see them from everywhere. You might be able to predict what's happening. You might be able to stop it from happening. And the idea then becomes, well, is it possible to actually intercept mass exploitation? Is it possible to actually prevent it altogether if you can gather the right information fast enough? And the way that idea has evolved over many years is that, and I knew this a long time ago, but I didn't know how to articulate it, and it wasn't super clear to me. But what I've realized since then is that, ultimately we're really trying to bring a similar concept to radar, but to perimeter exploitation. It's to cyber attacks, right? So it's like, look, there's nothing that you can do about the bombs, about the attackers, right? But what you can do is you can wait to see when it's coming, when it's started, and you can actually prevent it. You can neuter it. You can prevent it from hitting you. You can block as much of it as humanly possible, and you can render it not nearly as harmful, similar to the concept of the radar with bombers. And that's how things have sort of evolved since then. And I think that's absolutely very possible. But again, that's a long walk. It's going to take a long time to get there, but it's absolutely possible. It's just very hard, I think, for people to wrap their minds around, because it's hard for people to visualize things that don't exist. And so, we just have to show them that it's possible. And every year, I think we get a little bit closer. Every year we show a little bit more that it is possible. We shave the amount of time down that it takes for us to do all of the necessary pieces to neuter a cyber attack as it's happening. And then and we can absolutely get to the point where we can do it, the second that it kicks off, so that things cause minimal damage. But again, to answer your question, it's big history nerd. Love defense innovation systems. Take that big step back and look at sort of the way that we're thinking about sort of this particular class of cyber attack. What do we do about it? How do we prevent it? Is it possible? And to me, the answer is absolutely. And honeypots and internet, detection is a huge part of the component to that.
I want to give time for the rest for Kimber, Emily, and Glenn to ask a question if they have any. But I have one more that I just wanted to get through before I open it up. And so, have you seen evidence? Okay, and everybody, this is like it's not a setup, but I know the answer to this. Have you seen evidence that what GreyNoise has done has actually changed things on the internet? Like, has there, it's one thing to observe, but like sometimes when you observe and then that data is used in some way, it causes behavioral changes. Have you seen behavioral changes as a result of literally the existence of GreyNoise?
Yes. And there have been two very large buckets of changes that I've been very pleased to see. And one of them is that we have frustrated attackers enough for them to start acting unnaturally, changing their behavior to fingerprint GreyNoise sensors specifically so that they can avoid us. And they employ a variety of different tactics in order to, usually it involves like sending some kind of like, unique data that they can then pull out somewhere else in order to try to figure out where the GreyNoise sensors are so they can skip them, which is essentially like driving a jet or a bomber through a really ultra weird specific route so that you avoid any kind of radar outposts or something like that. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing, right? It's all fun and games. Any sort of cyber defense product is all fun and games until you start to frustrate the attacker enough that they actually change their behavior in order to do something, in order to continue to do what they want to do. Or ideally, they would try to hack GreyNoise and really try to like put us out of business or something, or humiliate us drastically, right? Like that's how you know you're really doing something right. And so then the other side of the behavioral changes that I've seen, they don't have anything to do with the attacker. It's been in the security community and with other security vendors. So that we've changed the way other security vendors are thinking so that there are more and more security vendors that are starting to realize like maybe we should, instead of making things more terse and trying to have more control of our sales process and having more control of who can see our product and who can see our data, maybe we should do the other way around. Maybe we should relinquish control. Maybe we should make our products easier to access and easier to use. And maybe we should be more lax with our data. Maybe we should be letting more people get access to things. And maybe the answer is that we want to get our data to more people because we want people to trust us. Maybe trust is more at the root of a business growing well in this industry than almost anything else. And so maybe we should focus more on the practitioner. Maybe we should focus more on the person who's doing the work than perhaps the executive. And maybe that's going to cause us to ultimately have a larger impact. And those have been the two big sort of impacts that GreyNoise has had that I've been really grateful to see.
I want to open up, Emily, Kimber, Glenn. This is your chance to embarrass the heck out of him. So please take the opportunity while you can.
I have a question, but it's not a serious question, so I don't want to take Emily, Kimber, do you have something before I?
Glenn, lighten it up by all means.
Okay, Andrew, pick a GIF or a meme that defines the company culture within GreyNoise. Like what comes to mind?
A GIF or a meme. GreyNoise culture is like very lighthearted, and we all make fun of each other a lot, and like nobody takes themselves too seriously. And it's like we are essentially, we don't really care about anything except for like the enumeratable distinct number of things that we care very, very, very deeply about. If I had to pick a meme, it would be, God, it would, I don't know why I'm picturing the like Grandpa Simpson meme of him like walking into the room and I can't hold all these tags lines. I like Grandpa Simpson meme of like walking into like looking at the internet and like turning right back around and like walking right
Picking
back
his
out.
coat back on.
Yeah.
Mine was also a Simpsons meme, which is the one of Marge like with the potato, and she just goes, "I just think they're neat."
Oh man, my brain just went to the dumpster fire, but not in a way that we
dumpster fire for sure.
Just in a way like we're roasting marshmallows around it, like. Yeah, it's on fire. Like, look at all this fire. Like,
but everyone's cozy and having a good time, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's the literal embodiment of the Helmo. Like,
Yeah, Elmo would be good. Yeah.
The number of times that has shown up in different jobs I've had is like extremely non-zero.
Right.
It's so relevant to so many things.
Cool. Anything you want to share with anyone before we move on to the normal course of operations, Mr. Morris?
Oh man. Yeah, I think that GreyNoise is at an interesting point. The cybersecurity industry is at a really interesting inflection point right now, like with AI. And I know it sounds weird, and I know it sounds maybe like, everybody has said this. So this isn't exactly a hot take, but just a lot of things have to happen in order to develop essentially like a capability that can be used for harm in technology. Someone has to sit there, do some research on a thing, do some fuzzing, hook something up to a debugger, like deeply understand a sort of technology or technology family and things like that. And all that's going to get a whole lot faster now with AI. And the good news is that like the defense side of that gets a lot faster as well. But I think that we're at a really interesting inflection point. And actually, the new long pole in the tent that we're going to discover together is availability of information and data and telemetry. I mean, that's actually the big, because you can't teach models on data you don't have. You can't make block decisions on attacks you don't know about. You can't, defend systems that you aren't aware that belong to you. And so, a lot of the compute side of things are being solved very quickly, and a lot of the like sort of thinking and knowledge side. The availability of data and of telemetry and thus of knowledge is going to be the new long pole in the tent. And just the one thing that I would really ask, it's not really sort of like a take so much as it is that just for anybody who's listening to this, who's in maybe an executive decision-making role, or anybody who's even like in an influencing role, I'd like to just really ask that we all try to be as open-minded as possible moving forward on the availability of telemetry data, and that we all just try to maybe get outside of our comfort zone with allowing, again, specifically like telemetry data to be flowing to other people and to be flowing out into the open, because that's going to be the next long pole in the tent to prevent really bad things from happening. It's going to be feeding telemetry to places and making decisions based on other people's telemetry, because a lot of the compute piece of this and the knowledge piece of this is done. And so that's just one thing that I just wanted. It's not really a prediction. It's more of just kind of like this is just my instinct on the sort of next big pole in the tent. It's not really quite a GreyNoise thing. But again, I mean, GreyNoise is at a really interesting inflection point. We've got a lot of really cool things that are, I just can't believe that we've seen. Any people can run their own sensors now. We've got computers writing our tags. Like, it's wild. So it's a wild time to be at GreyNoise. And I don't know. I'm really excited going into the year, and I'm just really grateful that you guys would invite me onto the podcast, to be honest. So yeah, Bob, thanks for doing this. Thanks everybody for having me, and I appreciate it a lot.
Do you have time to hang to maybe do some actual hot takes on some of the things we're going to talk about?
I would be honored.
I mean, I am looking for hot takes, by the way. It's like you better not disappoint.
Are we going long today? Otherwise, we have 15 minutes.
No,
so
I know. I have eyes. First of all, we have 17 minutes. Thank you. Thanks, Glenn. But thanks, Mom. Anyway, thanks, Dad. We got this. All right, so let's keep moving. So we do have some, I guess, sort of breaking news. I'm covering this, and I'm putting in the breaking news category because it is recent. And if people aren't aware of it, Loan Depot, I am really surprised they didn't get sued out of existence thanks to Home Depot. Home Depot is very, very like they're very litigious when it comes to that. But anyway. If you had a loan with Loan Depot and you had a mortgage payment due, you know very well exactly how great the past couple weeks have been going, past few days. As I like to say, like maybe little Susie even was scared that she'd be kicked out of a house that her parents managed to buy after the other financial services places had to shut stuff down. That Glenn's fully supported kicking Susie out of her house. It's great, just great, Glenn. So I want to talk about this for two reasons. One
time we're gonna have Susie on.
Benjamin tried to be on, but you scared him away. So what am I gonna do? So the first thing I want to talk about is like, so this is Morris's favorite site. You got to get off X, man. You got to get off X. They had their help desk on X, and I think one reason why these firms are still on X is it's literally a free tech support forum. They don't have to stand up any infrastructure. They just need a Twitter client, and that's why they're all still there. And that's why they kind of use it as that, which is terrible. That's a horrible place to do customer support, but whatever. So they started to do responses to people going like, "Are your phones on?" or whatever, and like you had some poor folks in the customer service department at Loan Depot doing rando replies without there being a coordinated response by somewhere because all these tweets were taken down at some point, and this is just one of them I'm showing that Shay asked, "Are your phones down?" and Loan Depot's like, "Yep," and there's a cyber incident and we apologize or whatever. This all got taken down. So terrible comms. So first lesson of the year, like please do like a war games thing or whatever scenario development thing and make comms part of it because like don't let it's going to be a bad year breach and incident wise folks. It's just like that's my take. I said that in the predictions. I think a couple of us did. This is an example of this happening on here. But the second reason why I wanted to put this on here and to like maybe it up for discussion is they had an incident back in 2022 where they were doing some of this, like they had to do the breach response and do all the useless coverage of your credit score and blah 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 that kind of thing. So like I know we have none. Well, if you do, we're going to pretend like you don't anyway because I haven't asked you. But none of us works at Loan Depot. None of us were involved in the incident response on this thing. But I mean, like breached in 2022, breached again in a really bad way. Poor little Susie is now like in a homeless tent camp somewhere. Like, is this like just your reaction to that? Like, and is this the same attacker or did they fix things? Like, or why was there a second breach? And then the second thing is like, is this going to be par for the course this year? Because we've seen a lot of other corporations breach once already. And is this just going to be a cascade event this year? Or is this just a one-off beginning of the year? And we only know about it because of the SEC reporting. So just toss it up for anyone that wants to take that.
I think there's a few things at play. One is on the note about like communications. Like organizations often will do tabletops if they do tabletops, or their practice exercises without including the frontline folks. And so like that tweet, and we've seen it 1,000 times, is a really good example of make sure you have that, fire alarm type way of disseminating information to the frontline folks, because they are the ones that are going to set the stage for your public response or your public appetite, whatever, during your breach or your incident or whatever. Whatever they say at the very, very, very beginning sets the mood and can either make things 100 times worse or buy you some time to get some actual answers for folks. So like when you're doing those tabletops, do not exclude your frontline people, please. But for this industry, I think it's going to be interesting for this industry because I'm feeling it's like how we think about like move it, like those software products that we don't know about because no one has talked about them or socialized them. Loan processing, mortgage applications, like any company in that process has literally all the data that you could ever want on human beings, especially in the US. And so it feels like the pace or the velocity of these that are starting to pick up is a little bit more of a, oh, we haven't thought about that field yet or that industry. And so now there's like more copycat, more attention. So I'm thinking that this is more of a focus on that industry as a whole. And this might be a really rough year for banks or mortgage processors. I don't know what this category of real estate processing is called, but that's what I'm feeling.
Anybody else?
So like breaches have been happening for a long time. They have been going public more recently. The guidelines around the disclosure of those have been getting more stringent, which requires people to come forward with them more quickly. Things are getting regulated a bit. So certain things are changing, other things are not. A lot is going from unknown territory to known territory, which could cause us to feel like there's an increase when in fact we're just learning about them more now, which is net a good thing. The biggest impact is my sort of take on this is that it's two things. Like, number one, everybody has poop stains in their underwear. So we should always remember that, like, you should not under any circumstances like frown upon, the breaches when they happen, because they're going to happen to everybody. And then the second part is just that what I think is interesting here is Bob, to your point, it's the financial institutions aspect of this. Every technology problem is an extension of a non-technology problem, and every cyber problem is an extension of a technology problem, which is an extension of a non-technology problem. So in this case, the big deal is that we're over-reliant on systems on the internet to do basic things like payments for, things like mortgages. And that's where the pain is going to come. The pain isn't going to come when, the pain comes when large amounts of transactions can't happen. And that's a vulnerability in the way that the system, man. That's a vulnerability in the system. So like, that's where, the big issue is just that, like, the economy is incredibly levered to where things start to really break. That's very brittle, because when people can't make certain kinds of payments in a certain period of time, things start to really break down very fast. We're overly reliant on the digital aspect of that. So I think the scare, if I were, where everybody is too worried about water plants and power plants, and we're not worried enough about the systems that we use to make mortgage payments and to take out loans and to refinance homes and things like that. That's what's going to cause like really big, nasty societal issues, and that's a lot more likely to be very harmful and damaging. Those are going to be the things that we're going to see more of this year. It's going to be people not being able to make payments and people not being able to buy stuff. And we're going to see a lot more of that this year, because that's the stuff that hurts the most. And so that's my take.
Maybe one day we'll have to pay our mortgage with Bitcoin.
Can we eject Glenn, Ashley? Ashley, can we just eject Glenn right now and just get him out?
I had a roommate who used to pay me in Bitcoin.
Emily, come here. Nothing? You got nothing? Usually I really... Thank you. Just give him this. I got it. That's cool.
No, I honestly thought that you were saying Home Depot for a minute there, and I was like, oh, wow. And then Loan Depot.
Yeah.
Unfortunate name choice. Yeah.
Yeah, bad name. Much prefer Home Despot. It's a much better place to order nuclear missiles and stuff from. Sorry about one. We're going back to our regularly scheduled programming, except we are not, because we are actually going a little long. So how's it going 2024? Just really briefly, we've had 23andMe blame the actual people that had their data stolen for them having their data stolen. So I don't know what. We also
I can't even decide on that one.
Yeah, worst possible like thing to do of the ways that things can be bad. It doesn't get much more bad than that.
I mean, it's 23andMe, folks. Come on, like it's like they're not the greatest company to begin with. The Economist is now getting into the cyber reporting game in a bigger way, because they're talking about like they're scaring people into how ransomware could cripple countries, not just companies. And there's a interesting disinformation threat intelligence report. We are not covering the rest of these because we want to get into some other things. Just but the links are in there. Grab them. I thought the two were thought provoking, and I thought the 23andMe one was just hilarious because 23andMe.
It's a case study on what not to do.
Yeah, it is. Like actually, just take this back and run your scenarios with this as the don't do things for all the rest of them. The tool time's really quick because I knew we were going to possibly go along this time. As we mentioned in our December shows, the SEC in the U.S., not that as we have a dwindling number of public companies because of regulations like this. At least that's my posit. There are still 3,000-ish, 3,500 of them out there. They all have to report materials things now like really quickly. And if you all want to keep tabs, if you too want to be a lazy cyber reporter, because that's what they are, just head over to the Edgar site. We have the SEC Edgar URL up on here. The example search is to put in incident, narrow the search down to whatever dates you want to look for, and then also make sure you're just looking at the 8K forms. You would have found like the VF Brands one in there. You would have found the 23andMe one in there if you had done that. This is a great way to keep up on that. And I'm not saying that don't keep up on it just to like make fun of other companies. like make fun of it to see what's happening because the cyber reporters are lazy. And you might not actually see what's happening breach-wise. We still don't have a great breach reporting system. So this is a great way to keep tabs. Just keep this running. We go run some kind of script automation thingy to go pull that on a regular basis. There's an API if you want to do it that way too. I just want to make sure that folks knew this was a thing. Great way to stay on top of stuff. Great way to provide information to your cyber teams at work.
Fun fact, the Edgar website is only up between business hours on East Coast time. The website literally shuts down after 5 p.m.
Is it on
That
the
can't be real.
payroll?
I believe you, but I
look-
don't want to believe you.
I learned this in having to do some of the filings when we raised money for the first time. I went to the website at like 6 p.m. and they were like, sorry, this website is closed for business. And I remember thinking, I thought I understood how computers worked. I was wrong.
The API for information retrieval, Emily, is 100% up as often as it can be up. It's a government service, so I mean,
Okay.
sorry, Todd, it's
How
a government service. So
fascinating, though.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's bankers.
Sure.
There we go. Hold on.
Tracks, I guess.
Since Todd is a virtual member of the Beanut Gallery, SEC drills website DOSes every day. All right, let's do this. So shameless self promotion. Emily, you got a cool thing coming up in Census Link. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. Yes. So one of the folks on our research team is doing a lunch and learn next week on using fuzzy matching and Levenstein distance to find phishing domains. We'll show you how to do it in census data with BigQuery, user-defined functions. Really cool if that's something you're interested in. So that, and again, that's
is that the distance between bagel shops in your town?
something like that. Yes. But yeah, I won't spoil it. Come to the webinar and learn more. It's really cool, really interesting, kind of slightly different way to use census data than a lot of the ways that we talk about in terms of talking about exposures and things on the internet. This is a little bit different. So yeah, I'm excited for this one.
Very cool. That's we might actually have to tap into that one at work just so some of the folks on the team can get a bit more schooled in some of the data sciencey stuff that you have going on over there.
Yeah, definitely.
And at Glenn's perfect timing to get out of doing real work. Oh wait, hold on. Dare I say that he might be back? Give me a couple seconds to get your check. Yeah,
Can you hear
okay,
me?
we got a couple seconds. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's happening here.
Okay.
Yeah, so Ron on the team.
And we lost Glenn.
Glenn's gone. All right, so we have hit the ground running this year. Ron on our team, Rumbos, has been just like attacking our data and like digging in and finding some of the coolest stuff. This latest one is a deep dive blog on YAML deserialization, and the blog is great. It's a great deep dive read. This may be our tag with the most number of CVEs attached to it too, because this thing is everywhere, and there was a bunch of CVEs filed for the deserialization bug as well too. So this is pretty fascinating. I found it to be a great read because I came into it like, wow, I wasn't expecting to start the year off with a blog post, and Ron's like, boom, blog post. Okay, let's do this. Let's get to work. And tomorrow you can hear even more of me. Yeah, great. I can't wait for you to hear even more of me tomorrow. For a 30-minute webinar, we're going to start the year off great and strong with learning about GreyNoise tags. There may be a Schoolhouse Rock theme to it tomorrow, so it might be actually a little bit of fun too. You know, I'm just a tag, just a lonely old tag. Speaking of tags, we do have 3 of them in recent past that you all can take a look at. The Apache off-biz, I really should have looked how to pronounce that beforehand. Bypass attempt to pair with previous off-biz tags that we have, the YAML one I just mentioned, and GLPI CVE attempt as well. There's no traffic on that one. You can dig into there. It's pretty niche technology, so you might not have that there. But Apache stuff has been under some like serious attack, and that's actually one of the things people were saying. Like, if it's got the word Apache in it and it can be on the internet, it's probably going to get attacked at some point. To give folks a bit of idea of what's going on the internet, between some of the stuff that CISA released yesterday, we'll talk about it briefly in a second. Some of the tags that we have for some of the CVEs they put yesterday, as well as some of the ones we just mentioned, and some ones I just wanted to point out on here that we're seeing at the beginning of the year. So I don't know why, and I'm still trying to figure this out. I've been poking for about 2 months now. Like, I know WebDAV is still exposed in various apps and also deliberately by some small like little services on the internet. But we really see a lot of regular attempts to poke at various WebDAV things in various ways. And we just saw a massive uptick in actual scans for those things, which is unusual, as we've been saying since One of the other behavior changes that GreyNoise has caused is the attackers don't scan as frequently as they used to, but this one's pretty regular. So keep an eye out for that one. CISA, glad you finally was working for the year, Todd. It's great. You finally caught up for a couple of these things. Like the Joomla thing we've had for a while. It's been a constant thing. Massive spike in December. So people are after this. That spike may have caused why CISA had to actually respond and actually put something in Kev for that one. So we'll see what happens there. Plus some of the other ones out there. So you can check all this data out on the GreyNoise platform. I just wanted to give it a picture to show like, hey, yeah, the year is starting off strong in attacker land too. Kimber, I'm just curious, like, what are your thoughts on like how the year is beginning from like an exploitation standpoint? Because I know you probably poked around the platform a bit too.
It's just I guess I didn't expect to hit the ground running so fast on our side, and I think everybody else is kind of feeling it too. They say New Year's our go time, new things. Yeah.
So before we switch off to the final thing in CISA land, Emily, like I didn't prep you for this, so you can just smack me later for this one if you want. Although I am sending more cookies, so maybe you don't want to do it. Any big plans census wise, like changing up anything, adding anything? Like you don't have to say what specifically they are, but any major things in the works that folks should be able to look forward to?
Yes, I can't say too much about kind of the specifics of them, but we are like our team in particular is taking a really close look at things that maybe don't show up in our data as easily or as easily discoverable as they should. We're doing what we can to figure out how to surface certain interesting attributes about hosts and about services.
Ooh.
I realize that's super, super vague, but essentially, we're kind of the internal customers of our data. We use it a lot like many of our customers do, our search customers. And so we're kind of figuring out like, okay, what do we need from this? Because we kind of suspect a lot of other folks might need it as well. So yeah, some things coming there, data improvements, additional coverage, additional context, look out for those types of things coming in. And as those things roll out, we'll be able to talk more about them. But yeah, I'm very excited for some of what's coming this year for us.
I can't wait to talk about those this year. That's gonna be pretty exciting. So we need to talk about Kev because we need to, because it is a big part of our show. Sis is amazing, as we keep telling everybody that. We actually have a paper coming out soon. Is it a report paper? I have no idea what to call it. But we have our now annual report about mass exploitation on the internet. And we say lots and lots of nice things about Kevin, because everyone should be saying nice things about Sis's Kev program because it's super helpful and it makes things better. I just want to make sure people are aware that there was a Kev release yesterday, 6 whole CVEs. Thanks for the weekly first waking up present there, Todd. So you are now here on this diagram I have up. This is a density diagram. It's basically a prettier version of a histogram. I wanted to just throw this out there. Want defenders to go look up something called the trimean, because since our data is heavily skewed in cyber all over the place, is all over. Is a way better way of taking an average so that you have a better idea of like how long you might have until the next thing is going to occur. So roughly every 4 days is when there is the most common occurrence of a Kev release. Although today is Patch Tuesday, or is that Door Plug Tuesday? I can't remember, but that is something where you might see something today too. So that might help skew some of this thing a bit more, but I'm pretty sure it's going to hover around 4. So just take a look at that. Take a look at the trimean and start applying it to your data. Think in distributions if you can at your shops, and we'll talk more about that this year. And speaking of Kev, so we have 3 tags for the 6 things that Kev released yesterday. We talked about 3 of them: Apache Superset, Cold Fusion, and Joomla. We're looking at the D-Link one, CVE 2016-20017, and the Apache Cold Fusion deserialization one. I'm fairly certain we'll have tags for both of those. Where they're just in progress, and we don't care about Apple products yet, so like there's not going to be a tag for those in GreyNoise at least for that one. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and I am just going to walk the room a bit to see, and I have to actually get my question up because I forgot what I was going to ask. Actually, I did forget what I was going to ask. Wow, I completely forgot what I was going to ask for this thing. I feel really stupid right now. Just give me 2 seconds. There we go. So everyone had time for this, like a whole 15 minutes before the show. So I'm going to start with Morris, actually, because Morris didn't have 15 minutes because he didn't read anything, because he never reads anything. All right. What is your motto for the year, Mr. Morris?
The only constant is change.
4 out of 10. Okay, that's cool. Glenn, what is your motto for the year?
Did you give us a heads up because I didn't see
It
It
it?
was
is
in the
at
markdown.
you get the markdown at these days at least a full hour before the show starts. It is the questions at the beginning and the questions at the end
All
are in
right.
the markdown. I know this is
Circle
I know
back.
you have to
Circle back.
scroll. I know you have to scroll, Glenn. Yet scroll, and then you'll see it. Okay,
Yes.
we will accommodate you, and especially since you have technical difficulties. And I will start next with Kimber. Kimber, what is your motto for the year?
I'm going to echo what I said earlier in the show at the beginning, that my motto for this year is phone a friend.
Oh, because
Good
of the
motto.
responses that you got, right? Like the responses you got for the hackerspace.
Kimber,
Yeah.
there is a loneliness epidemic,
Yeah.
and I think that you are. I think that goes far deeper than attendance to hacker spaces. So I'm inclined to agree deeply.
Phone a friend.
Cool. Emily, how about you?
Balance, but also more. So like trying to find balance in work, life, all the things, but also not letting that like allow me to like take the foot off the pedal, if that makes sense.
Didn't you just say
Cool.
you signed up for a bunch of running events?
Yeah.
Emily, I had a spiritual mentor a long time ago once tell me that balance is never achieved; it is only constantly re-achieved.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Like it kind of never, yeah, that feels right.
One second. I'm actually I will let someone else respond to one of the things we got on there. So Glenn, do you have you had enough time to actually think of the hamster wheel running now and stuff?
Nothing really deep. But one thing that and this pains me to say, but Bob, you say it all the time, and I'm kind of keeping it front of mind this year is we talk about like, you know, like we're working on so many cool things within GreyNoise that like we really nerd out on it and we can burn ourselves out. So the phrase like human speed, working at human speed, is something that I'm kind of keeping front of mind, just because we, you know, back to the balance conversation, back to human speed, like we can't burn ourselves out on these things that we're so passionate about, because we know like we're finding this and finding that and chasing that. Like we're going to be better in the long run if we just stay, you know, keep it steady. So just human speed is kind of top of mind for me.
Glenn, I the same mentor that I had a long time ago also told me before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
Yeah, I like that.
Mine is and actually I'm not. If you have one, actually, please jump in. I am not going to make you do that. It's not fair, especially since I had so much fun embarrassing Glenn. The mine's kind of kitschy, but it's something that I do. It's kind of my thing every year, so like I don't really change it up. It's progress, not perfection. It's really, and like some of that striving to go into the nitty-gritty details and learn everything about the thing and become super expert. And sometimes that's overwhelming. And it's not just the human speed thing. It's just mentally overwhelming. So it's just more important to make incremental progress in my mind, instead of striving to be this perfection thing. Because honestly, we're just never going to get there. So that's kind of my thing on that one.
That's a really hard thing to do. I struggle with that. I think we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's why I
like
make it
that
a
too.
motto. Yeah, that's exactly why I make it a motto, because it just remember it. Like, okay, you just move on to the next thing. You don't need to make that perfect. It's cool. Awesome. Well, Andrew, thank you for taking time out of your day. You do have lots going on, so I do appreciate you carving like over an hour to hang out with us today. It was awesome.
I had a great time. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it a lot. This was a blast.
We will probably ask you to be on again if you're so inclined, by the way.
If I'm lucky enough to be asked, then I will. I'll be here in a second.
Awesome. Glenn, any other parting shots for anybody?
No. I'm happy to be back.
Cool.
We had a few weeks off, so looking forward. This is episode 1 of 24. I mean, 1 of
Yes.
2024, not
Yes.
whatever. Never mind.
Yeah. Cool. Kimber, any parting shots?
You probably need to update something, so go update it.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Everybody use Homebrew. Run it now. Like Homebrew update. Do it.
Hit that slam that Chrome update and just go ahead. It's been sitting there for days. Hit the Chrome update, reboot your browser, let go of your tabs.
Oh my gosh.
It'll
if
be
you haven't
fine.
updated Chrome since before the holiday, you are You are living on
Now
the
is a great time to do
Yeah.
Yeah. And Emily, any more parting shots?
No, I mean, maybe change that last digit in your password from 23 to 24. Like,
Ooh.
Security.
Security.
What if we put the year at the beginning of the password though?
Our checkmate hackers.
See,
Still
we
holds.
mix it up. We mix it up. See, okay, that's cool. I just want to say thank you. It was awesome getting back into the swing of things. I just wish Benjamin could have been around longer because he's adorable, and I wish everyone could have seen him longer. But we will be back in a week. So tune in next time, and we will catch you again on the next Stormwatch. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Bye.